Hey, what is up, y'all? This is the Comic Cowboy, brand spanking new video. I'm going to preview the current Comiclink auction of Golden Age books. It's a tremendous auction, and I just kind of preview for you the books in there that I think are cool and interesting with some commentary. Caveat, I got no books in this sale. I'm consigning nothing. I haven't bid on anything yet. I don't know anyone consigning books in this. Just going to give you what I think of this awesome collection of Golden Age books that's being offered right now on Comiclink. I'm not an employee of Comiclink, etc. Y'all know I'm good. So let's get in after it. I'm going to share the screen for you folks so we can look at it together. And I haven't gone through the auction. I'm going to give you my off-the-cuff remarks on what I'm seeing in here. Maybe this will help guide some of the books that you'd like to bid on, provide a little bit of insight into this collection. Just so you know, in this particular auction, the focused, there is more Silver Age books, considerably more Silver Age keys than Golden Age represented in this particular auction, and a really large number of Marvel keys. The DC is a little bit underrepresented in this auction. A bit of a shame. We're going to start at the top of the books that have the highest number of bids currently as of today. 16 days left in this auction, so a lot of room yet to go. Right off the cuff is this USA Comic 6 first cap covering USA Comics. Of course, it's not a Sham. Doesn't mean it's not an awesome book. It is conserved. You got to read these titles and read the label with this conserved or restored books, whether it's CBCS or CGC or whatnot. This is amateur conservation. That means not restored, fine line, restored or conserved. Spine splits, sealed with glue, cover detached, 2 pieces of tape and cover for tape doesn't matter. I mean, CGC does not usually have tape as restored. It's really those spine splits sealed with glue. It's really minor. Creamed off-white pages, not bad. Look at this cover. That's amazing. With Bucky there, war cover and Cap, really dramatic, really fantastic. Oh, my bad. It's Sham and Sid Shores combined on this cover. It does have some of the features of Schomburg. What a kick-ass cover, y'all. This one's a good one. Right out of the gate. It's really rare Daring Comics here. Another Schomburg cover. This is fantastic. You do not see this often, combined with the Joe Simon story. Unfortunately, brittle pages, 1.8. That's a really gorgeous showing, 1.8. Buy the book, not the grade. I typically, myself, I don't buy brittle books ever because I just worried about how that book will hold up over time. Leave it in the holder, folks, or it will disintegrate like a mummy in your hands. But like, this is awesome. Very rare, very unusual. Do not see this book often whatsoever. Really cool. Goes into a higher grade Zip Comics, a Pep Comics. These Peps are great. These are, of course, the non-Archie, pre-Archie covers. I've never seen this book before. Captain Swastika. Oh, wow. This war stuff is just phenomenal. Historic, actually. You know, it's made during the war. It really gives you an impression of how artists and Americans were thinking about what was happening in that theater at that time. And this is a really fantastic Pep, really rare, hard to come by. Cool book. I like it. Perfect Crime 23, classic crime cover. This is a really phenomenal composition. Amazing. Look at the shadow and the picture in the mirror here and the woman screaming. It should say classic cover because it certainly is. Perfect Crime 23 from 1952. I bet Comiclink called it a classic cover. No, they didn't. Phenomenal. We've got an ungraded Raw All-Star Comics 8. I guess you're rolling the dice if you're buying this book key. Oh, looks like there's a label down at the bottom. This is a little unusual. Married cover, no resto, 1.8. That's really interesting. I mean, you just don't see this book ever not slabbed. You're rolling the dice. You may get some upside. It was previously in a holder That does not mean once it's been removed from the holder that the contents are exactly the same of what that label said at one point in time. You have to wonder why it is no longer in the holder. It will certainly go more than the initial bidding here. It's just right out of the gate, $400. I like that book. It's certainly gone on a run, and the last Wonder Woman film wasn't too terrific. And I think this AS8 has lagged a little bit. I think there's never a bad time or a bad entry point for that book. These are fantastic. These all winter comics. Sham, the maestro, the master, just doing some of the best work of his career here. Nice mid-grade, slightly brittle pages. That's a bummer. That would prevent me from bidding, but hey, that's just my preference. That's just my cup of bourbon. Maybe you like something else. Here is the Submariner, Bucky, and Cap, and Toro, and the Torch up here above. Frankly, just a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. I have not seen this All Winners 11 that often. First Atlas Globe on the cover. That's pretty minor, doesn't matter. But a really fantastic book. I just don't like the page quality, friends. Slightly brittle is better than brittle. I'll take that. Going to a Detective Comics 38, First Robin. 3 years ago, this book was reasonably priced. It has since gone into the realm of the mega keys. Really difficult to pick up and find unrestored at any kind of a reasonable price. Apparent isn't bad as far as Purple Label Resto goes. Let's see what it says. Restoration includes color touch, pieces added, tear seals reinforced, Jerry Robinson written on the first page in marker. So it's a signed book. So that's really awesome. Of course, CGC doesn't certify it unless they bring the person out of the grave and watch the ghost sign it. So that's not going to happen. So this is a signed copy. I do like this. Apparent moderate resto. I don't like pieces added, but material put on the book is way better than material taken off. I do not touch trimmed books that are restored. I do not like that. I do not like when things have been taken away. If it's been added on, that's not as bad. This will go for quite a bit because it looks fantastic. And what a key. This is phenomenal. Love it. I do not have a copy. 8.5 on a Daring Comics, 1945, really high grade. Let's give this a look. This is a cool book. I have not seen it before. I'm not as a big fan of this artist, Alan Simon, cover and art. It's cool. It's interesting. It's a little bit, of course, derivative of the covers that Sham produced prior in this line. You really wish the artist went in a different direction. This completely copies a little bit of the composition of how Toro and Torch are depicted on the cover. There's some stylistic touches here that are a little bit different in terms of what you see with the face of the Submariner, and the figures there have a little bit of a stylistic linear quality, not in the domain and the advanced imagery that Sham was just working at a higher level than his peers. It's almost unfair, frankly. You get into a Bats 84 Catwoman cover and story. Catwoman books from the golden age into the early silver have really done quite well because Catwoman's shown up in the movie. This is a cool book. I like this Bat stuff from the mid 1950s, especially in grade. Very tough to come by. We'll skip over these. I'm just going to touch on books here that kind of stand out as being particularly interesting in this auction, as opposed to rifling through every single book. You do that yourself. So let me call out a couple books that I think are worth giving a look at. I do have a copy of this in lower grade. This is cool. Wow, look at this. It has absolutely everything going for it. 1944, kind of towards the end of the war. Issue 57, Marvel Mystery Comics. Nice off-white 5.0 pages, bondage cover, decapitation cover. This is just amazing. You got the woman in this contraption here, and it's just a complete masterpiece. This you could take pride if this would be in your collection. Cool book. This is rare, really rare, scarce. It's a Champ Comics 23. I'm not a huge fan of the artwork here. It looks a little crude, but a tough book, these early Harveys with the war covers. A PGX on a really cool book, on a Catman Comics 1. With PGX, I really worry about the restoration in their unrestored holders. I really do. In fact, when I look at a CGC book, I buy it as if it's restored. I just assume. I assume this is restored, maybe not a heavy restored. They just did not do a very good job, for whatever reason, capturing restoration in their books, which is a shame because this is a phenomenal book that you do not see too often. This is the kind of book I would probably take a speculative bid on. I don't even recall the last time I saw a copy of this. This is dramatic, interesting, cool. Catman Comics, amazing. Obviously, Batman did better than Catman. This person has slipped into the fog of distant memory in the candles held by us comic collectors. We get into some action comics here, some sensation. This is an interesting cap right here. It says it's scarce. It is actually. This is pretty late in the line. Yeah, 1949, issue 73. Look at cap there. These are really tough to come by, these books. You have to remember at this stage, well after the war was over and before things started to pick up almost well over a decade later, in the early 1960s, comics were in the dumps. So these books were not held, they were not collected, they were not preserved. And so to find examples today of Captain America is really cool to find. Black Terror is awesome. This is a character that's actually in the public domain. The rights have since passed. Alex Schomburg did a lot of covers in Black Terror. He did this cover, and this is a great example. Let's just look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is phenomenal. And these books are relatively affordable, probably because the Black Terror has slipped away through the doorways of time and remembered only in these comic books today, but the character is not participating in any fiction that we're familiar with. And this is awesome. If that was Captain America on the wing of the plane and Bucky over there opposite, this would be a $5,000 to $6,000 book. It'll probably go, because it's so damn cool, for over. I'd put this book here in a 3.0. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes for about $1,400 to $1,500, maybe a little bit more, because it's so good of a war cover and it's really particularly rare. Cap 77, only in 2.0. These books are really well coveted. These Captain America books from the 1950s always have their fans and really frenetic bidding, completely different than the material during the war, during the early 1940s, when Schomburg did so many of these covers for Cap and USA. When we get into the 1950s, different artists, but these are quite good. And this, I haven't seen this book before. It's very excellent. If this was, if it was in better grade, it is off-white to white pages, but if it was in better grade, this would collect a lot of interest. As it is now, I bet this thing would probably still go even 2.0 because it's such a great cover, easily, and it's rare, could go $500-600, no problem. It's at $115 today. It means nothing. Comiclink is really interesting. You may know you can't track these lots unless you bookmark them. That's a pain in the ass. You've got to put in, a tracking bid, which I don't particularly like, because if you wait too long, you put a tracking bid in, You may win the lot and you were just hoping to track it so you can get back to it later. It's a weird kind of quirk of their website. Skipping on down the line to see if anything stands out as particularly interesting. This book does, and I really shouldn't say it does because I'm really bidding against myself by telling you all about it, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Why hold the information? We all do this stuff because we love it and we share it. I don't want to hoard, but this would be absolutely probably a book I would bid on for a lot of reasons. One, Standard Comics has been really particularly hot over the last several years, much more so even than other horror publishers. This is Out of the Shadows 5, which is actually #1 in this line. And it's Off-White 5/5. That's really good and a really cool cover. This will command a good price, a fair price and a good price. Cool horror. Scanning on down the line. Let's have some fun. Let's look at this thrilling. This is probably a Sham again. I mean, this guy was so prolific and so excellent. It's just remarkable, the speed at which he worked at and the quality. It would take a mortal days to create a cover like this, and he did it so rapidly. It's remarkable. Thrilling Comics 6.0, Off-White, 1944. This is just a great war cover here. It's fantastic. It's humorous. It's interesting. It's absolutely wild and uncommon. You do not see this material very often. And if you could take it home and add to your collection, you will not regret it. Very few people have this book. Now, you can go to CGC and look at the census numbers. I bet it's under 20. Maybe it's 15, 16 copies, which is great. Cool book, great one. Something like this, I'm not going to bid on it, but something like this, I certainly would. You will have no regrets taking that book home. People will always want it. If you ever need to sell in the future, you do not have to worry. There will be people ready to pounce to take that book home. It's not going to sell for a lot of money. It's somewhat niche. This is great. This is going to pop way up in the ranks there. These horrifics in this grade. This is a tough one, this Horrific 12, this Don Heck cover, 7.5. This is very cool. Look at that. I mean, Don Heck, he did horror, he did war comics. All his stuff was masterly, top of his game. There's his name down below. Really just a master of storytelling, of composition, of color. And look at this. This is great. Love this Horrific 12. Uncommon. Not going to see this very often. I don't see this particular issue that often. Scrolling on down the line. And, oh, this is interesting. We got a Fight Comics 12. I don't collect fiction comics. Fiction obviously does a lot of jungle-related stuff, or did, I should say, in the early 1940s. This is a rare book. This is a book I have not seen before. Fight Comics 12 from 1941. Fantastic, almost like a historic comic book. Something like this is a wonderful book to have in your collection, and certainly rare. Cool book. There's some neat stuff in here. With Comiclink, you got to look through really page after page. Find the stuff you like and take a crack at it. There's some wonderful stuff in here, and it's a large auction where there's some big ticket comics. So some of this stuff might be overlooked. I really don't collect EC. I'll scan over the EC. Here's a book that will certainly have some spirited bidding. I like the blonde. You got the brunette and the blonde on these Phantom Lady comics. The blonde is less common. Matt Baker, Off-White pages, phenomenal artwork here. Look at this, it's so good. Off-White pages, 6.5, 1948. Really great stuff. Love those books. This is unusual. I don't see this very often. This Black Cat 45 in 4.0. This is a good book. Classic cover per CGC. Look at that. right out of the Twilight Zone. Tough book. You're not going to see that very often. That's a good one right there. Blue Beetle. I have seen this book. It's phenomenal. These later line Beatles in the late 1940s got into this good girl art. You still got the Blue Beetle on the cover there. I don't know what's going on. This lady has a gun in the money, and I guess the Blue Beetle is coming in there to restore it to its rightful owner. I don't know. It's very cool. Don't forget about this book here down the bottom, this Mystery Men Comics 11. This is really cool. Unfortunately, slightly brittle pages, folks. Slight resto, small amount of color touch on the cover, not bad. Piece reattached to the cover, not bad. Cover detached. That's not a lot of resto. You know, read the label. When you see a purple label, don't just pass that lot on over by. Read it, see what it says. See if you can live with the amount of restoration there. These are helpful notes. Not all restored books are the same. When you see the purple label and the grade, there's variance. And this is to both Fox collectors, Blue Beetle collectors, a really tough book and an awesome cover. If this was unrestored in a 2.0 with better page quality, even at a 2.0, this book would probably go $1,800 to $2,500, like easily. There's just probably not a lot of copies of this, and it's one of the better cover depictions in kind of a legendary line, which is Mystery Men Comics. As it stands, this probably will go over $1,000. As it stands, the cover alone, if it was just the cover, someone would pay $400 for it. It's cool. It's kick ass. It's not for everybody, but the people that want it will go after it pretty hard. There is a lot of books here, folks. I'm going to cut it off. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this video. Let's get through a few more because it's kind of fun, having a good time. Planet Comics. We got some Wows. We got some Zoots. We got some Ghosts. I'm going to stop if I see anything that stands out at this point as a little bit unusual and worth a look. Right now, I'm kind of seeing a lot of cool books. Nothing that's screaming at me to call out to you folks. But there's neat stuff. This is actually an interesting one. Let's look at this book. So we have got the original Harlequin here from 1947. Now, what's interesting is there is not a direct association with Harley Quinn, you know, that showed up in Batman Adventures in the early 1990s. But here's the original Harlequin. That there is somewhat of a soft comparison here. And this is the first appearance. I really like this book, Off-White, White 8.0. This is a nice book in a cool line, All American Comics, featuring the original Green Lantern. That's a good one. That's a good book. Archie 53. These are really cool. Look at Archie. He's just, you know, kind of staring at her. You know, there's the Archie Comics 50, which is the classic cover. 53 is not bad. And this will be a reasonably priced book. Absolutely. Scrolling on down the line. Let's see what else stands out as, okay, here we go. We got to look at this book. I do have a copy of this. This is probably, in my opinion, the best war cover there is. And if it's not the best war cover, it is certainly the best flamethrower war cover. Whenever this book is offered, let's say on the CGC boards, if you remember there, it just goes in a minute. The seller is going to get whatever they want for it, provided they sell it reasonably in line with GPA data, it will go. And it's very tough to get in higher grade. I often see it in these lower grades, 2.5, but you know what? Again, buy the book, not the grade. Like if you look at this here, this looks phenomenal. The blacks are rich and deep. Look at the colors and the flamethrower. It's not even detached. I don't know why. Maybe it's got some soiling up here. It got this 2.5. Great book. Get after that book. That's phenomenal. Probably will go for about $800 to $900. Maybe go up to $1,200. We'll see. That's a cool one. That's why you got to look. You got to slog through all these books. There's just a lot of great stuff in here. 16 pages, it's a lot of time to get through this auction. You really got to be patient. And I would say, look at the Golden Age books, then look at the Silver Age. Do it separately or you lose your mind. So much stuff. This is rare. Let's call out this LB Cole. I do not see that this often. Again, slightly brittle pages. That's why, in your speed, don't just bid, read the label, see what it says. Maybe you don't care about the page quality, but give it a look, read the notes if there are any. Even if it's blue label, it still may say something like slight amount of glue on cover, tape on cover. In a blue label, it still will have that data under there. This is really cool. What a complete masterpiece this is. I love that Cold stuff. Definitely has its fans. Let's get one more cool book and we'll call it a wrap. Call it a day. These are great. Don't you love these? This is probably our friend, Matt Baker, of course. Matt Baker art. Jack Keeman on the cover. So Baker's on the interior this time. This is awesome. Really cool, this jungle stuff. Definitely has its fans. It's very niche, that category, but reasonably well priced. Has never really taken off. A 9.2 on this. This is goofy. That's really high grade on Mary Marvel's first, not first appearance, but her first book in her own title. That's awesome. I like Mary Marvel. She's cool. She's in the movies too. Let's see what happens in the next Shazam film. Those are good. This one, another tough book, probably less than 20 in the census here. Mystery Men Comics 23, 1941. This is a good book. This is really tough. People that collect this stuff are going to go after it. Just beware, be prepared. This is fun. This is actually a pretty good auction because there's not a lot of huge Golden Age books in here. We saw the first Robin, of course, but there's a lot of affordable material. Wow, look at this. There's a Mile High Wing Comics in 9.6. That's awesome. Snuck into the auction. That's a good one. All right, I'm going to end on a book I like too. This Adventures into Darkness 5. Here I am, inviting bidding against myself, but I don't care. This is a cool book. May the best bidder win. I would take a crack at something like this. Ventures into Darkness 5. I like it in a better grade, but you just can't get this stuff higher grade. 3.5. Really cool cover. It looks somewhat contemporary. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it. I hope you found this helpful. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, add your comments down below, and see you folks later. Take care.